stars who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, lovelies, and welcome to another edition of the Wow Report. I am co-founder of World of Wonder, Fenton Bailey, here with the magnificent James St. James.
2 weeks in a row, I'm first.
Yes, well, I know. And Tom Campbell's out on a top secret mission.
Yeah.
But we're also very excited, in addition, of course, to Blake Jacobs.
Hi.
Yeah, we're very excited. We've got a special guest, Pangina, who is co-host of Drag Race Thailand and who came to DragCon LA 2019. So here's Pangina, number 10.
Number 10.
Pangina.
Hi, how is everyone doing? It's a lovely morning. I'm Pangina Heels from Drag Race Thailand. I'm honored to be here.
You are all the way from Bangkok?
Yes, 33 hours, 3 layovers, and my ass was so numb by the end of it. But yeah, I'm here. I'm so excited to be at DragCon.
How was DragCon for you?
It's a phenomenon. It's like, when, celebrities go to cons for drag queens, the ultimate dream is to walk the pink carpet at DragCon. So I get to do that for the second year now, representing Thailand. Woo woo! So super honored. And it's like a dream to represent, Thai drag queens.
Mm-hmm. Now, do people, are you recognized? Are you mobbed? Do people know? Are they watching?
Well, sometimes, people come up and say, oh my God, plastic tiara. And I'm like, oh my God, you're so kind. No, I'm not that pretty. But yeah, some people watches the show illegally, which is great because, it's not on WoW yet, but they found a way. So.
Right, good.
Well, I should just chime in. Drag Race Thailand is going to be on WoW Presents Plus, which is our streaming network.
Yep.
James, you know all about it, right?
Cheaper than the price of a latte.
I love it.
But so much more. And we're just there's a few little loose ends that need to be sorted out. But it will be seasons 1 and seasons 2 will be up on the streaming network for everyone to enjoy. But you are internationally recognized now.
Well, I do travel quite a bit in Asia and in America as well. But yeah, people have been following me a couple with recently, so it's great. Yeah.
What are some of the differences you think between Drag Race US and Drag Race Thailand?
Well, we kind of have a rule book in Drag Race Thailand, and we threw it away, and we gave the girls a lot of crazy challenges. Like instead of a 2-in-1, we gave them a 3-in-1, and so that was difficult for them. And literally, we gave them 1 day to work on whatever challenges they have to do, so that's a lot more time constraint. And also we were basically like, let's make this as difficult as possible for these girls, so when they get into the real world, nothing will ever be as hard anymore.
Right, good, yes.
So kind of train them. So if you watch the show, it's very intense. Like one girl burned her face. That was not on us. That was her decision, but we were really concerned.
I did see that, yeah.
Yeah, no longer has nose hairs, that girl.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't have nose hairs either.
Oh, you're very lucky.
you
I have
burn
to wax
yourself?
mine all the time.
Just decades of abuse.
Oh, no.
I don't have any sense of, I haven't smelled anything since the 80s.
Oh, wow.
What? But also you and Art co-hosted.
Yes.
Explain
Yes.
that. Explain that.
Well, Art is the main host, and I'm the co-host. It's a great relationship because Art is very motherly, elderly, and she's very sweet.
Ouch.
And she's very calm, and I'm like uncontrollable. I have no filter and like sisterly. So we have an amazing bond where when we're on the show, I'm the one screaming at the contestants, and she's the one who's like, "Shut up, bitch." So it's a nice working relationship. I really respect her. She's a fashion icon, and you met her already.
Yes,
She can
fantastic.
put a plastic bag on herself and look good. And, so it's a great thing because I'm in the performance scene, I'm in the nightlife scene, and she's more in the fashion world. So both of us make up a good team.
Well, tell me a little bit about the girls each year that you've discovered. Like, what are the different? How are the looks different than the American girls?
Well, we're Thai, number one, so we are very ingrained in our culture and our food and what we represent. We what we know is a lot of it is from the cabaret world, but also from watching Drag Race in the version. So we are very inspired by it, but we also put a twist. In terms of the challenges, we would be like, oh, use a Thai material, or you can only tell a story from your hometown. So basically, there will be a lot of Thai elements coming into it. So that's one of the big challenges as well. But yeah, the girls came full out with all their outfits and everything, as you can see. Yeah, it's no joke.
Right.
Because we're very heavily influenced, and our judging criteria is very heavy on the runway. So they have to come with their fashion game on point.
Mm-hmm. And who are some of the judges you've had? Are they international, or are they mostly Thai celebrities?
We had Miss Hungry.
I love me some Hungry.
I know.
Oh, good God, she is
love
fantastic.
It. Well, it's funny because when she got off the plane, Art was like, Hungry is here. I was like, well, then go get some food, girl. Why are you telling me? I was like so confused. Yeah.
But she's so beautiful out of drag. Oh,
I
just
know. Wouldn't you?
Stunning. And then that drag is really pushing forward what the very idea of what drag can be.
The future.
It is the future of. She is. I always say she's like an insect from another dimension.
I was gonna say a rabbit, but yeah, I totally could see it.
Yeah. It's like a Rorschach test. It's like whatever you believe, whatever you see in it. But it is. There's what references she's pulling. I have no idea. She literally is doing something extremely new, and it's rare to see new.
And in person, she's like as stunning as in images. She does not need any Photoshop, no Facetune, whatever. No. Like it's insane. Yeah,
and just very intelligent and well spoken. I just love her to death.
Yeah.
You've also had Kim Chi on, right?
Not yet.
Oh, I thought she was going to be in the. I thought she was going to be in the finale.
But it's a good idea.
But it's an amazing idea. No, but she was in Thailand for a show.
Oh.
Yeah, so she performed there with Naomi Smalls. I wasn't there. I was here. So, but no, we're waiting for you, Kim Chi, to come on next season. Yeah.
Also, one of the judges, which was the judge season 1, me and Stephen, the showrunner, were there just making sure the rule book was being followed. I think it must have been torn up with the day we left. But one of the judges was wearing a dress made entirely of firecrackers. Unignited firecrackers. I mean, it was like you couldn't do that in the States because of health and safety. I mean, talk about going out with a bang.
I had my lighter next to me in case she said something negative. But no, she's very famous from. She just made these materials from like the farm she lived in, and I'm not saying that, but it's like she really came from the rural areas, and she would whatever things she got her hands on, she'll make like a couture dress out of it. And so she was like, I had lots of firecrackers. Why not just make it out of firecrackers?
It couldn't, like, if she sat wrong or something, couldn't it?
If she rubbed her legs together too far.
You know what she did? She put water on all of them.
Oh, okay.
To like diffuse it a bit.
Good. Okay.
Because I was like, Stephen, we should leave now before something awful happens.
The whole building's about to blow.
She's a great bang. Yeah.
Now, on Friday, I'm doing a transformation with Jeannie.
Yes. I love Jeannie. Jeannie did really well.
Was she this season?
Yes, she did.
She's I was in the green room with her at DragCon, and she is a hoot. She just has no filter and seems like she goes a mile a minute. She's very fun. I'm excited to see what she's doing.
Yes, and her drag aesthetic is very interesting as well, and something we've never seen in both seasons of Drag Race. I was really excited for her to be a part of it because it's really weird. It's really kooky. It's very underground. So I love that. I love everything about her.
She said she was. This will probably come out by the time it's out, but she said she was going to she had some Christmas lights that she was going to put on my face and then sort of put prosthetics over it so that the lights were coming out of my face, and it seemed sort of Lee Bowery-esque. And
well, good luck.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a 9-hour transformation.
I'm sure. We'll be there quite a while.
Well, Pangina, thanks for coming.
Thank you so
all the way
much.
from Bangkok to be on the Wow Report. Thanks for coming to DragCon, and thanks for co-hosting Drag Race Thailand.
Thanks for having me, and I love you.
One last question.
Yes.
Love you too. Your name, Pangina Heels.
Yes.
Can you explain?
Well, actually, I didn't do drag until I watched the show. And I saw Angina on the show, and I was so inspired by her being Asian, being amazing, So I was like, what's my name? My name is Pan, and it's Pangina, and I love wearing heels, and drag, drinking, and dancing heals people. And also the fact that I feel like the world was a supercontinent, the Pangea before. I feel like, wouldn't the world be nice if drag, dancing, and drinking just brought everyone back to where the world was just one? Yeah.
That's nice. That's wonderful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Love you. Adore you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Come back soon.
Anytime. Love you. Bye.
Bye, honey.
Number 9, James.
Number 9.
Number 9, I saw a documentary, of course, on Netflix, of course, called Bathtubs Over Broadway.
I saw that.
Well, we have differing opinions of this because I thought it was absolutely genius. I loved absolutely every single second of it, and you were not quite so taken with it.
Well, I have to confess, I started to watch it all very excited, and then I just nodded off.
Well, I think that says more about
me,
you possibly, than about the documentary. It's about a guy named Steve Young, who is David Letterman's producer for 20 years.
Oh, okay.
Right. And he stumbles across this bizarre genre of records from the 50s, 60s, and 70s while he's looking for things to do for David Letterman, right? Because David Letterman used to have his David's record collection, and so they would find wacky records. And he finds this genre called industrial musicals. And it's these Broadway-style musicals that were put on by corporations like McDonald's or Ford or Xerox or DuPont at their conventions or their retreats.
Like shareholder meetings.
Yes, exactly. But so they would have like these giant, that would then it would be like these giant, like it would star Florence Henderson or Tony Randall or Cheetah Rivera, and it would have tap dancing and singing and songs and this and that. It would just be huge Broadway productions, but about like a new kind of hairspray or a new kind of like piping
or
for
gas or kitchens
gas
or washing machine.
Product placement.
Product placement, yes. And then afterwards, everybody who attended would be gifted this recording, this record, and so they would end up in thrift stores and everything. And there'd only be like 100 or 200 of them printed, and they started to be collected in the 1990s because they're so camp. They were so incredibly crazy. There's one called Bathrooms Are Coming, and it's women singing like, in my bathtub I drain and I dream, and it's like so awful, but it's so like they're so earnest.
So bad
about
it's
it.
good.
Yeah, it's so bad that it's good, but
And it's irony free, right? It's
it is
that
completely
pre-cynical era.
Yeah,
of,
it's like, the 60s, and they were huge, 100 people tap dancing to,
how did
about
the economics of it work. Like, how on earth did
because-
anybody ever afford this?
Well, but they did. They would spend. They said they spent something like 50 times what a musical on Broadway would be for this one performance. And the composers and everything were these Broadway-style composers who, if you weren't singing about pipes or matches or whatever, or DuPont hairspray, or so, like it would, if you changed the lyrics to be about love and something like that, it would be Broadway-worthy.
I think what my issue with the film was a little bit that it seemed to be more about him and his journey than it did seem to be about the musicals themselves. And I never quite understood how they came about and then why they went away and why they stopped
maybe
existing.
if you'd stayed awake, they would have answered those questions for you.
Well, maybe you can give me the short versions now.
Well, they went away because in the 80s that sort of irony-free thing just sort of stopped working. And
is that your breakfast digesting?
something like that. But anyway, so it stopped being financially viable, and it stopped everything like that. So they stopped doing it. But then in the 90s, people like Joe Biafra and a lot of punk rockers started collecting these, and it ended up on NPR. And then the New York Times did a story about it, and it sort of had this big renaissance. And Steve would track down these composers, like this 95-year-old man who was like sobbing because his life's work was finally being recognized. He found the two women who sang about the bathtubs in Bathtubs Are Coming, Bathrooms Are Coming.
Is that why it's called Bathtubs Over Broadway?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he took them out on tour with him, and then these crowds would come, and everybody knew the words because it'd been like Bathrooms Over Broadway was this huge internet hit, and so like everyone is singing along and waving their about the draining in the bathtub, and the women are just sobbing because they never thought they would become famous for this.
Right.
And near the end, he recreates some of the songs there was this one that he was like trying to find, and he finally recreates it, and you see this huge style, Broadway style. It's like a music video with people twirling and spinning, and all the old people, like all the 90-year-olds, are like dancing to the songs that they remember from the 60s.
I love it.
Because also they made records, right? They pressed vinyl and gave them to the attendees, but also some of these were filmed, I guess, because without that you wouldn't be able to see.
Well, early video, people were filming it for the prosperity or whatever like that, and so they dig up and they find this one man who has an attic full of these records that are pressed, and you just see him crying because he never thought that anyone would be interested. It's just it's a feel-good thing, and I think if maybe you should give it another shot.
Do you think it could be a feature film, or could it be a musical? Could it be a Broadway musical?
Well, I think that there really could be a Broadway musical of all these musical numbers, stitched together is like, a jukebox musical of all these, like, Hairspray songs and... So there it is.
Oh, Hairspray songs and...
That's the end. There you
go. There is a beautiful quote from the guy, I guess. He says towards the end, life can be rich and wonderful when you go off the logical path and embark on eccentric adventures. Because he is a lonely kind of guy in his own world, right? And he finds this connection with all these people.
He's sort of an ASMR kind of guy. He's very quiet and he's very gentle, and he when he finds these people, they love him because he's so enthusiastic about it, but he's so kind and gentle with them. I would think that it really would be up your alley because you love those kind of nuts. And
I'm definitely going to give it another watch. Okay. And I'm sorry for falling asleep during it. I was very tired. Been a very long day.
They're all very long days, aren't they?
They really are. Bathtubs Over Broadway I still don't understand the title, though. Is it Bathtubs instead of Broadway?
No,
Give me Bathtubs instead of Broadway.
It's a play on Bullets Over Broadway, which is a huge Broadway hit. And so now they're saying Bathtubs Over Broadway because it's about the bathrooms are coming.
Streaming now on Netflix. Okay, number 8.
Number 8.
Well, I went to the movies.
Did you see what I think you saw?
I went to see Ma.
Good.
And so we sit down in the theater, and on comes, like, they show these books about fertility and, like, how this woman's trying to get pregnant. And then I see...
Wait, this movie has started?
And then I see Elizabeth Banks sitting on top of the hottest man I've ever seen. And then Steven looks at me and says, "This is not Ma."
Wait, what did you go see?
We went to see Brightburn on accident.
What? What is Brightburn?
Brightburn is like the anti-Superman. You haven't heard of this? I figured this would be right up your alley.
What is Brightburn? I'm excited.
It's about this little boy who...
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the anti-Superman story. So he is like from another planet, but instead of doing good, he does evil. It was very like alt-righty. Steven said it was like, if you're an alt-right incel, you'll love this movie. Like, it's very Trumpian. Like, I feel like he uses his power. Like, he says that he's superior to everyone. We did not like the movie.
Did the audience like the movie?
There were not very many people in there, and
Why didn't you get up and go see Ma?
Well, Ma doesn't come out until next week. We didn't know. I tried to buy it online, but
how do you go into a movie? It's like getting on a plane and you think you go to JFK and you end up in Hawaii.
That's what I said to the guy. I was like, how did we get into this movie if you didn't see, like, Ma, Like, I guess we bought tickets for Thursday's Ma show.
Oh,
but we saw Brightburn anyway. I'm glad I saw it.
You not only went to see the wrong movie, you went on the wrong day.
Right. Well, so I looked up tickets and it said that it was showing, and it was showing at 7:25, but it was just a special press screening. So why is that even on, released to the public?
No, but so it's a Brightburn.
But you're press, you could go.
Well,
who plays the Brightburn? Who's the kid?
It's a new little kid. The only person I knew from it was Elizabeth Banks, really, and she plays the mom, which was kind of weird because she's like a big feminist, anti-Trump.
What are his powers? What are Brightburn's powers?
Well, he can fly really fast.
Okay.
And he can shoot lasers out of his eyes.
Like Superman?
He can pick things up.
Like Superman?
I mean, he's just like Superman.
In fact,
I think it's called like the anti-super. Like,
does he come to a sticky end?
Well, I don't want to give away the ending, but
Why not?
I'll just say...
I don't think anyone's going to watch this based on your recommendation.
I know, but I just I did not like the ending.
Is it a Marvel or a DC property?
It's not. I don't believe.
Is it a comic? Did it exist? Did this character exist as a
It's
comic?
like 20 questions here.
I would think James would know if it was a comic book.
No,
but
I don't know. I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, so
What about his outfit? Like, what does he have?
Oh,
a
it was
cape
so
or-
tragic. It was just like this gross knitted thing that like it looked like it had shoestrings through it.
I don't mind a little knitted.
Well, but I mean, it looked like
onesie.
a kid made it. But anyway, I just thought the allegory was like it's really weird when like a kid comes into so much power, a lot like Trump, like someone childlike.
Well, what was the one with Dane DeHaan? Remember the where it was the one word and he was all powerful and
I don't know.
it was the big movie. It starts with a C.
C. Movies beginning with C.
We have to stop. Hold on. Stop everything because I'm going to say it's the same thing as that. Hold on. I'm stopping.
What's that one where the kid saves the planet by playing a game? Is it like Endgame?
I think I know what you're talking about, but I could never tell you what the name of it was.
Dane DeHaan. I do love me some Dane DeHaan. It was his first big role. Chronicle. Remember
Okay.
Chronicle?
I don't remember. I remember the.
You
scene.
never saw Chronicle?
I never saw
Would you go
Chronicle.
and see Chronicle this week?
I guess I should.
Will
I
you
mean,
stream it?
I don't think I would have ever seen Blackburn had I not walked into the
No,
wrong
Chronicle
movie. but-
is he just keeps getting more and more powerful and more evil, but it's like a teen movie.
That's kind of like how this is, but yeah.
I have a question. Does he have a weakness? Like, Superman has
Kryptonite.
kryptonite. What's his? Is he defeatable? Not to give the ending away, but like, does he?
I don't remember anything being like. I don't remember him having a kryptonite.
Did you nod off like I did? at
I
Bathtubs
should
over
have.
Broadway.
But it's in theaters now, and I wouldn't. Yeah, I would go see Ma instead. Like,
Okay.
I can't wait for Ma. Will you see Ma next week?
I will see Ma.
Okay. Come back and tell us about Ma next week.
Will
Okay.
do.
So here's a question. We're going to take a quick break, but my question is June 28th, 1969. What happened? You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy Sirius XM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton Bailey here with Blake Jacobs and James St. James. Tom Campbell's away this week. Hey, so I asked June 28th, 1969. James, history question.
It was the Summer of Hate. I do know that, and probably what kicked it off would be Charles Manson.
That's pretty good, but wrong.
Stonewall.
Yes!
Oh,
It was the Stonewall riot. And the reason I mention that, of course, is we're on the verge of June, and June is...
Pride.
And I must say, Pride Month just seems to be bigger than ever before. I mean, even IKEA are selling those giant rainbow totes, and you can get rainbow slides. I mean, everything's rainbow. I just bought some rainbow bath bombs for my kids, actually.
Nice.
Yes. But the reason I mention it, it's a plug.
Oh, wait, hold
Yes.
on. No, I met someone who makes drag queen bath bombs, and they were going to make a James St. James bath bomb for me.
I love that.
I met him at DragCon.
Make sure you put a little thing, a collectible, inside the bomb so that the bomb
Like a
dissolves and there's a little
jewel?
gift, like a jewel, like in Christmas crackers in England. We have little plastic gifts. Yes, jewels, what have yous.
Drugs.
Anyway, number 7
Number 7.
is Stonewall Out Loud. This is a documentary that World of Wonder has made for YouTube Originals, and it's going to premiere on the 50th. It's 50 years since the Stonewall riots. And
Wait, are we still doing is this still the trivia, or is this your number 7?
I answered the question, and we're now on number 7,
Okay.
which I did mention. I
I'm
believe.
so sorry. I sort
But
of
welcome back.
I fell asleep
Maybe
there for
she
a second.
fell asleep.
Welcome back.
I nodded off. Keep going. I'm so sorry.
Stonewall Out Loud documentary for YouTube Originals. It's going to be
And
on
StoryCorps.
and StoryCorps. Well, I was going to explain. It's slightly complicated. It has a slightly complicated genesis in that. Do you know what StoryCorps is,
I
James?
have no idea.
On NPR, they have a thing called StoryCorps, and it is ordinary people telling their extraordinary stories. It's like a sort of mass documentation type record. Anyone can upload their story about anything. And for about 5 years now, they've been doing OutLoud, which is specifically stories about gayness and coming out, and of course now it's Stonewall Out Loud. So here's the thing: when StoryCorps began many years ago, about 30 years ago, they made an audio documentary. They got a lot of people who were actually at the Stonewall riots, and got audio recordings of them. And they made a documentary, which is great for NPR. But then YouTube came along to us and said, how can you turn this into a film? And Randy had the brilliant idea, I mean, this is so brilliant, of getting young actors, new generations of YouTubers and makers and activists to lip sync the original interviews. So, for example, Raja lip syncs Sylvia Rivera. And
Is Raja dressed as Sylvia Rivera?
No, they're not dressed. They come in and they listen on the headphones and then they lip sync. And however they want to look. And it is, we also have
Adam Rippon.
And some of the people, the originals are there with them, so you get to see the person they're playing.
Okay, so
Who's still around?
Most of the people are no longer with us, but we found about 3. We found Tree, who still works. He's in his 80s and he works at the Stonewall bar.
Yeah.
We found Miss Martin, a drag queen who was there, and a couple of others.
How
and
old
so
is
we
Miss
had
Martin?
them meet their sort of young lip syncers. Their counterparts, yes.
Why then wouldn't Miss Martin lip sync to her own?
Well, because the reason why is because, I think today to people 50 years seems like a long time ago. If you're an old cart horse like me or you, James, 50 years is within the span of our lives. But if you're a young YouTuber, you're like 50 years sounds like antiquity. And to have young people today voice these original recordings, it suddenly leapfrogs them from the past into the present. And it's really Jeffrey Boyer Chapman,
Jinx Monsoon.
Monsoon. It is spooky because we didn't quite know.
Charlie Carver.
Oh my God,
he's so
do
cute.
love me some Charlie Carver. Yeah.
Keenan Lonsdale.
Oh, I love Keenan.
Ben J. Pierce.
Oh, were they all here and I didn't get a chance to meet any
Amber's
of them?
Closet, Adam Rippon.
Oh, you guys
And,
you hide me when these people come, don't you?
Lance Bass.
Lance Bass and his husband. It's so good. You get goosebumps.
They hide me.
You
They hide
get-
me when the famous people come so that I don't embarrass them. I think that's what it is.
No, you would get goosebumps, James. It works surprisingly. It's very powerful.
And where and when do we get to see this?
Okay. You can watch this on June 28th on Wow Presents, which is our YouTube channel, and it's a YouTube original, and it will debut on the 50th anniversary of Stonewall Riot.
Which is the 28th.
Right.
Yes, the 20th of June.
In association.
Have you been listening to anything I've been saying?
Well, I did, obviously, because I knew that the 28th of June was Stonewall. And not Altamont or Charles Manson.
Well, we should move on, James, to number 6.
Number 6.
Number 6. I watched on ABC over the weekend This is Farrah Fawcett, a documentary about Farrah Fawcett. It covers a lot of her life, but it's mostly about her fight with cancer. And it's a remake of the 2009 documentary, Farrah's Story, which came out before she died. And so they've added some more footage from this, notably the footage where she lost her hair when she lost, due to chemo. And
so it's not a new film. It's a sort of remix.
It's a remix of the 2009 documentary from 10 years ago, and this is sort of trying to reestablish her legacy, I guess, is what they're trying to do. And you see a lot of clips from her career. The very famous Pepsodent commercial she did early on. I think it was Pepsodent, a toothpaste commercial, because she had those fabulous teeth and the hair and everything. And you see a lot of Charlie's Angels and just what Charlie's Angels meant to the 70s. And you can't overestimate how important it was to see these kick-ass, beautiful women.
She was really there for one season.
She was there for one season, and then she was out.
And she is Charlie's Angels to everyone.
When you still think of Charlie's Angels, you think of Farrah Fawcett.
Yeah.
She was really only did 20 episodes,
right?
And then she was gone because she was off to a better career, and it didn't happen right away. She was in some really dogs. She was in some bad shit before she finally got the burning bed, almost 10 years later.
She was, she was in Charlie's Angels for that one season, but the thing I remember about she was a poster. She was that picture of that sort of blonde mass of hair was the teenage boy masturbate
It is
to
still
poster.
to this day
It's
the
iconic.
number one selling poster
Really?
of all time.
Wow.
And she says that she had a whole bunch of things. She had her own red bathing suit. She came out. She did her own makeup. She did her own hair. They pinned up a blanket behind her, and she just went like that, and the nipples were the girls
doing their thing,
and it became like one of the most iconic things of the 70s. I had that poster.
James still has a poster right now in his office, but instead of Farrah, it's Sarah Palin.
Oh, it's Sarah Fawcett. Yes. But it's interesting. They sort of skim over a lot of stuff, because her early career, she was on The Partridge Family. She was on I Dream of Jeannie.
I didn't know that.
She was in Myra Breckenridge. She had a part in that. She was in Logan's Run. She had a bunch of stuff that was sort of fascinating. But they sort of skip all. They go straight from Charlie's Angels to The Burning Bed, which was her big breakout. She got an Emmy for it, I believe, in the 80s. It's about abuse. It's about a woman who kills her husband. It was a true story.
Was that like a TV movie?
It was a TV movie that sort of put her back on the map again, and people started taking her seriously.
It's funny
again.
too, because TV movies don't always pop. But that one really did.
In
just
the 80s,
explode.
that was something that people really talked about, and it was front page news. And it was
I feel like maybe TV movies were bigger then. Like maybe now Netflix movies are equal to TV movies.
That could
right?
be. That could very well be.
And also, I think it was like one of the first times that domestic abuse was put into the popular culture. Like it was something that existed for a long.
Well, they were saying something about how women there was a divorce rate spike because women were leaving their husbands because of it, because they finally were realizing that they were being abused, and they sort of didn't understand before what was happening to them. There's a lot of attention paid to the tempestuous relationship she had with Ryan O'Neal, who was so beautiful when he was young, and then he becomes all bloated and red-faced and weird. And you get the idea that tempestuous, they keep saying it was a tempestuous relationship, but that's code
Wink, wink.
for drug and alcohol.
And abuse.
But to his credit, he stayed by her side throughout the cancer, and it is a harrowing story of cancer, and it's hard to watch because you just see her decline, and you see her lose her looks and sort of, but she still keeps going to Germany to have these treatments that aren't approved in America, but they're just painful, and they keep shoving like needles into her liver, and you see her just screaming in agony, and it's just very hard to watch, but it's. I mean, she doesn't give up, and that's sort of like, I guess, the moral of the story is she just kept going and going and going until she dropped.
Well, and the worst is she died on the same day as Michael Jackson.
Well, that's just it. She died that morning, and then Michael Jackson died like 5 hours later, and it completely obliterated any attention that she would have gotten. And that's
a shame.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why they keep doing these things, is to try and reestablish the fact that she, mattered.
Well, you can watch This Is Farrah Fawcett on abc.com or ABC Go.
Yes.
All right, very good. Number 5, Blake.
Number 5.
Well, there's a bit of a theme, I think, because I fell asleep during this one.
Oh, no.
I think it's a Netflix thing, actually, is that it's great you can watch anything whenever, but I
think they just pump something out of the box to make you fall asleep or something.
Listen, my next one I fell asleep and it was Netflix. So.
Things that make us go.
Well, this one actually was kind of funny, and what I love most about it is it's 6 episodes, and each episode is 15 minutes long.
Oh, so you should theoretically be able to stay awake
right.
for it.
Yeah. It's called I Think You Should Leave. And it's these little short stories about comedy short stories. It's by Tim Robinson. It's an American sketch show. It's on Netflix. And the guest stars in the first season are Vanessa Bayer and Cecily Strong, Will Forte, Andy Samberg, Fred Willard.
I love Andy Samberg.
The episode I watched, some of them are kind of dumb. One of them was about I just watched the first episode, but one of the skits was kind of
the first 5 minutes of the first episode before sleep set in.
And you have the nerve to bring that here as your topic? 5 minutes, and you think you can riff on that for 10? Is what you think?
Well, so one was all fart humor about
farts.
But the one that I really loved was Vanessa Bayer is out to brunch with her girlfriends, and she's the girlfriends are I'm out to brunch with these 2 ugly dum-dums. And so she thinks, it's that crazy thing where she is I'm out to breakfast with these 2 fucking pig farts. And she's
she takes it too far.
Yeah, and they're you can't say that, and she's what? But that one was really funny. So
That's good, actually. I'm doing the shoe with these two. Shoe.
Idiot.
But I mean, I guess I'll go back and watch a couple more. Why not?
Well, okay, so next week, come back. You'll see Ma, and we'll get some more. I think you should leave. Blake, I think you should leave. It's streaming now on Netflix. Next Thursday, I have to tell you, next week is the premiere of our docuseries, long time in the making, Work the World.
Oh, yes, finally.
The amazing Jasper Reichen is directing.
So wonderful.
It's on our streaming service, Wow Presents Plus, which is, I think, mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. Just $3.99 a month, less than the price of a latte, but so much more.
Mm-hmm. And this it's the girls went on a European tour.
That's right.
Many of the girls from Drag Race, about 10 of them, I believe.
Yes.
10 girls, 13 countries, I believe.
Exactly. And so each one of them gets an episode and to tell of their journey on this tour.
Of extraordinary backstage access.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes shenanigans.
Oh my goodness. Can you imagine?
I know, right?
I'm excited.
We'll be right back after the break. Oh, here's the question.
Yeah.
History question, guys. Another one. 24th of May, 1819. What happened then? All right, we'll be right back. You're listening to the Wow Report on Radio Andy SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with Blake and James. We're doing our thing. We're counting down top 10 things that make us go, wow. But James is stumped by the question.
Yeah.
24th of May. I'm surprised at you, James, actually. I thought this was in your ballpark.
Well,
I
I'm
think
thinking
I may know.
1819 is
1819.
Is it Napoleon? Is it something to do with Jane Charlotte Bronte or something? A Bronte sister?
Do you want to take a...
Is it when Queen Victoria died?
No, she was born.
Yes!
Yes, okay.
It was when Queen Victoria was born. And so that's 200 years ago.
Yes.
Like just this past week. 200 years ago. And she lived for most of those 200 years. I mean, she died actually...
In 1900 or 1901?
1901.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm even talking about this
Number 4.
is they found new footage of Queen Victoria from 1900. So it was within a year of her death. Now, when we think of Queen Victoria, if we do, we tend probably to think of very severe-looking figure.
The jowly woman who was always frowning and dour because she always dressed in mourning.
Exactly.
She was in mourning for 40 years.
She was, after
Yes.
Prince Albert died.
Isn't that just British people?
So, in the last year of her life, she went on tour of Ireland, and they found this footage in the Museum of Modern Art. Amazingly,
Actual, footage. Like, they actually had like
Virgin. They in 1939, the museum acquired 36 reels of 68 millimeter nitrate prints. Can you imagine 68 mil? I mean, I think that's like IMAX type stuff.
Right. Okay.
And it's gorgeously crisp and clear.
When was film invented?
In the 1890s. I don't know the exact date, but it was late. Because one of the first things ever filmed was by Thomas Edison was of the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, okay.
Which had just been dedicated and opened in 1896.
What year was the famous train coming towards
yeah.
and everyone screamed and shouted because they thought they were going to be run over by a train? What year was that?
Well, Google that and we'll tell you.
That was one of the
It was
the
one of
Lumiere brothers or something, right?
But the point is here that they found this footage of the Queen, and we've never really seen her. She always looks a little blurry in photographs, and this is so crystal clear. Anyway, what is
She's smiling in it, and she's laughing.
She's smiling.
And that's what's sort of like we've never seen her move.
And she's wearing shades.
She's wearing eyeglasses. Yeah.
And she just looks like a bundle of fun, doesn't she?
She does.
And two girls are bringing her a basket of flowers.
But at what point? That's another thing. When were glass or
And the shades were very 90s, too.
That was I was going to say they're very Gigi Hadid.
Yeah.
They're very like the little tiny ones that everyone's wearing now.
1890s,
Very
1990s.
very 2019 in
Yeah.
fact. But when were shades invented?
Well, that's something else we have to Google.
Because I believe that maybe back in the 1700s were people wearing shades.
I don't think so. I don't know.
Maybe they just wore visors.
I don't know.
Well,
1929 is what this says.
No.
It says inexpensive mass-produced sunglasses in 1929.
Maybe they were just a royal accoutrement
Right.
in the Victorian era, and then they became popularized in the 30s.
Okay, well, this is a whole other topic next week.
It certainly is. Did you also know that Queen Victoria was the longest-serving monarch?
Until
Yes,
Elizabeth. When did
until-
Elizabeth surpass her?
A few years ago, because Queen Victoria was 64 years, and currently her great-great-granddaughter, which is Queen Elizabeth, has been serving for 67 years.
And how much longer do you think that Elizabeth
Give
has?
her a couple of years.
You do?
I think.
So the Queen Mother is Victoria's daughter?
Oh,
Here we go. The Queen Mother is absolutely no relationship. She was married to George,
Right.
King George, who was so she never was able to be.
Okay.
She was a queen consort, wasn't she?
Well, and that's the end of my knowledge.
I'm gonna get
Jay's always putting me on the spot about my kings. I only know this much.
How is that possible that you don't know your British history?
I don't know. Okay.
And Queen Elizabeth was never supposed to be queen because
That's right.
they changed the course of the dynastic because when
because
King
Trump
Edward
was almost king.
abdicated.
King Edward abdicated for the love of Wallis Simpson, who was the twice divorced American woman.
Who Madonna did a movie
exactly,
on.
and it all comes full circle.
But why wasn't she supposed to be queen?
Because the dynastic line didn't go that direction. It only after he abdicated did it go to the brother, and then the brother was King George, and so George was never supposed to be. So George's daughters were never. They're sort of like what Zara Phillips was.
Right.
That's sort of what Queen Elizabeth was. I mean, Princess Elizabeth was back in the 30s.
There you go.
It would be kind of like if Princess Eugenie all of a sudden.
Yes, exactly. Like
And
if all of a sudden Eugenie were to become queen,
And
that would
then
be like.
and the line flows on from that.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Fascinating. So we're going to post that footage on the Wow Report. Number 3, Jane.
Number 3.
Oh, good Lord. I watched the most absolutely god-awful movie.
Did you fall asleep?
I did fall asleep because it was terrible. Oh, my God. But it was terrible in a fabulous, sort of wonderful way. It was The Haunting of Sharon Tate. I watched on Vudu a preview of what it's supposed to come out in the theaters later this month. It is it's a Sharon Tate movie about, Charlie Manson coming to kill her. Starring Hilary Duff as Sharon Tate. And she is... Poor Hilary Duff is trying her damnedest, but just can't seem to do it.
You know what she does do well? Pop. She should probably stick to pop music.
Her album. But this is the tagline says that pregnant with Roman Polanski's child, Sharon Tate becomes plagued with visions of her death. And in reality, Sharon Tate really did have a nightmare a year before her death in which she was murdered. And she told a reporter that. And so they took that and they sort of ran with it. And she's having these visions every 10 minutes of her death. And she keeps seeing, and it keeps going on from there. And then it turns into this really bad slasher movie. And like it like really bad artsy slasher that it has nothing to do with reality or anything like that. Hilary Duff, it does this weird affected accent where she sort of talks like Marilyn Monroe, and she's wearing a bumpet in her wig in really bad 60s fashions, and that's like her attempt to be Sharon Tate. Interestingly, Jonathan Bennett from Mean Girls plays Jay Sebring, the hairstylist who was murdered with Abigail Folger. And he's sort of interesting. He's sort of fun. He plays it very camp and very gay. And he was at DragCon, I believe, wasn't he?
He was at DragCon.
Yeah. He had a booth at DragCon.
He was a last-minute ad.
Good Lord.
And
what was he selling?
I think he was just there, like, doing autographs. He was in Mean Girls with Danny Franzese.
Danny and him were sort of like opposite each
right.
other. So
and he was also just on Big Brother, Celebrity Big Brother.
Oh, he really is a cutie. He's the reason to watch this. Basically, I think we should all just wait for the Quentin Tarantino, which is coming out next month with Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio.
But snubbed at Cannes.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it because it looks very sort of tangential. Like it has very little to do with it's just sort of Quentin Tarantino riffing on the 60s.
And The Haunting of Sharon Tate is not tangential, right? It ends with
everybody being murdered, blah blah blah, pig, helter skelter, blah blah blah.
Right.
But I mean, you can pass this one up. I don't think it's a must see.
Okay.
It didn't really make me go wow. I'm sorry I brought it up.
Wait, were you saying that Quentin Tarantino's film got panned?
Didn't get panned, but it didn't win anything, did it?
Oh, no.
I think it was like overlooked by the jury.
Right.
Interesting. Are you still going to see it?
Oh, yeah.
I think you have to see it
so.
just to see the World of Wonder headquarters in it.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to see it to be part of the conversation, right? It's one of those things. Okay, so number 2, Blake.
Number 2.
Number 2, I'm so excited. This Monday, Below Deck, one of my favorite shows of all
Sweet
time.
Life Below Deck with the Sprouse twins?
James says this every time. It is not the Sweet Life. It's on Bravo. It's kind of like Vanderpump Rules, but set on like a yacht. Mm-hmm. The crew. It's all about the crew, and they live underneath the yacht.
As crews do on yachts.
Right,
yes.
right. Hence the name Below Deck.
Yeah, right.
Is it a big yacht?
Yeah, it's a pretty big yacht. So Below Deck is actually Below Deck Mediterranean is what is going to be starting. This is the spinoff.
And there's all sorts of sex and violence and people bitching and slapping each other. And
there is a fair amount of that. So every year it's like a different crew because it's kind of a what's that word?
Rotating.
Yeah. Well.
Rotating cast.
Sure. And
Ensemble. I don't know.
Yeah.
Words, boats. It's a charter boat too, right?
Yeah.
So they get different people.
Yeah, and I've read that you can charter these and you get it for half price if they're filming the Bravo show.
Now, but do we have like socialites? Do we see the socialites up above the?
You
the
see
deck?
people. Yeah. You see
And
them
are they part of the
dealing.
story?
Yeah, you see them dealing because sometimes they'll be more difficult and sometimes they'll be.
I imagine
easier.
it's just hell. I imagine people are really demanding on yachts and really entitled.
It is. You get like
You know this. You've been on a few yachts.
Barry and Dion's, I'm sure.
No, stop. But I think it's cramped quarters, right? It's probably like being
Yeah.
on an airplane for like a week.
It
and
is.
you must really grow to loathe the other people by the end of the
or you start
Fucking
having
them.
sex with them. Yeah.
Yeah, just out of boredom, I'd imagine.
And the 3 guys that they usually have, more 3 or 4 guys that are just so hot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's an incredible feat. Because I've heard they have to have a separate boat for the crew,
yeah.
for the actual
Right.
crew
Oh,
who's
the
shooting,
logistics
who's
of
shooting the
shooting
crew,
this.
and that boat has to like follow on behind and stay out of the camera line. Which at sea there isn't a lot to look at. It'd just be so easy. You know the number of times you
To
film and the
float
wrong
in.
person gets
Yeah.
the crew boat's
Well,
floating
and
in.
crazy stuff really does happen. Last
Yeah.
season, someone almost died because they were one of the deckhands. His foot got caught in a chain and it pulled him off of the boat.
Oh no.
And like they just cut the motors off because if it had like
he would
it
go
would've-
flying into the
it would have ripped his leg off and he
propeller.
would have bled to death or
Oh, dear.
But it's crazy.
And I imagine there's all sorts of drunken shenanigans where people could fall off and drown at any moment.
I'm sure. I mean, it's like a big rule that you can't drink on charter if you're like one of the.
What?
Well, I mean, the
One of the
guests
crew.
can,
The
but the
guests.
crew can't.
And the guests do, right?
Yeah.
They can and do. So that,
But they go crazy. They'll have a day off where it'll shoot them going out to a restaurant. And
I do remember you have a very famous story about you were in the Caribbean once with everybody and you were on a boat and you can't flush the toilet if people are swimming and there was a certain club person who kept pooping and his poop kept floating past you and you guys haven't spoken in 30 years because of it.
it's called tissue fish. And when you're like off the boat and you're splashing around, looking at the lovely undersea life, and then suddenly tissue fish go by. You know what comes with the tissue fish quite soon after? The
brown fish.
The brown fish. Right?
And so yes,
why
where
can't
were
they
you?
just hold the poop and then release it when you're like
Well,
going?
that's when people are in the water. You shouldn't.
Yeah, you aren't supposed to flush.
You aren't supposed to flush.
When
And
people are swimming.
Gross.
Right?
And you still haven't spoken to him, have you?
I mean, you would think if you paid that much to be on a yacht that they would have
That
like the
someone
poop.
would bottle it.
Well, this was in the 80s, was it? Or this was the 90s or something?
Where
were you?
My lips are sealed. I don't know.
But where were you? You can tell us where you
Take a
were.
quick break.
You can tell us where you were. You were
It was in the Caribbean.
It was in the St. Bart's, right?
No, it was in the Caribbean, somewhere in the water. It was in the water in the Caribbean. I don't know. I don't really know.
Latitude and longitude.
Between islands. Okay, Below Deck returns to Bravo Monday, June 3rd at 9 p.m. We have to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll reveal the number one thing this week that made us go, wow.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Stop it, James. Oh, my God. Oh, where's Miss Connie?
She's right here. I'm going to go grab her.
Oh, my God.
What are we doing? What? We have another guest?
Yeah, Miss Connie.
Oh, nice.
Love Connie, I mean. Not Miss Connie. Love Connie. Go on, me. Oh, was that? Oh, was it you I told to be quiet?
Shut the fuck up, Jesus! Get out now!
That was those day laborers all pulling through them old drag. Do an episode of Drag Hoarders. I think there should be drag. Right. It's called High-End Hoarders. Where it's really good stuff.
Come and sit in the middle of rows between two thorns.
Valley of the Dolls, is that back on stage?
It was a special reading.
Oh God. You know
What's
when it's a
old,
reading,
everything old is new
and
again.
what's old is redone very lazy.
Yes.
We're just gonna do a reading.
Wait, where was that?
It
Did
will
you go see it?
be
It was at the gay.
$350 a ticket.
You're
to see
so
me
right.
read.
It was a gay and lesbian center benefit.
Yeah.
Apparently it was a riot. Alec Mappa stole the
So
show.
is it because I'm a huge Tarantino fan, and I heard you guys talking.
I'm excited for it.
Well, listen, the whole thing about me and Sharon Tate is that was my whole fascination with blondes began with her because I was from Louisiana. She's a Texas blonde. And when I was growing up, there's also this documentary called 1969.
Okay.
But it's been very good, and that was the year Manson murders.
The Altamont.
But everything, the war in Vietnam,
Stonewall.
yes,
Yeah, it was
Chappaquiddick,
Yeah.
yes,
It
so
was
they
a
did
busy year.
It was the
crazy
summer of
busy
hate, is
year.
what they call it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and we landed on the moon.
Yes. So
What
all that like crazy stuff. Oh, and also they were talking about landing on the moon. Peter Fonda was talking about Easy Rider. He's like, my movie open, and then they landed on the moon. So it was kind of like this, no counterculture, pay attention. And then they're like, no, moon.
It's sort of like when Warhol was shot the same day as Robert F. Kennedy
Yes,
was
sir.
assassinated.
Right.
And so,
Is that true?
Yeah, and so he was
Or
on
was it the
the
day
new front
after?
page of the
I
paper. No, it was
never
the
even
same
knew
day
that.
Was it the
because
same day?
he got kicked off of the front page and he never forgave.
angry.
He was so angry about it.
But I used to go to the mall, and I would get the Helter Skelter book, the Vincent.
Oh, yeah,
Bugliosi.
uh-huh.
And I don't know if you remember, but they would show the crime scene, but the bodies were
white.
white.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Like they had cut around the body, but you could still see carnage like on the carpet. And it disturbed me, but it was that thing of where every Saturday I went over there, it was like, oh, fun day with mama. Down south in Vicksburg, Mississippi. And I-20. Yes. And yeah, and I would just go look at that book, and then it was like Olivia Newton-John, Farrah Fawcett, Suzanne Summer, and then Blondie, and it was like, oh my God. But if I have to fucking see Sharon Tate and her friends murdered Tarantino style, seriously, that just made me, because I like.
Well, it's going to
the
be
girl.
ultra violent.
God.
You have to be right on top of those things.
Oh, we're already recording. Oh my
it's always-
God.
well, no, we haven't started, but I just was putting
But-
it out there. Because
but-
it's such gold. Everything's gold.
Yeah,
But you know what I think of her, when I think of, like Fearless Vampire Killers, and you think of
Yes.
some of the early Sharon Tate. What was the one?
And remember the Dean Martin James Bond movies called Matt Helm? He played Matt Helm, who was kind of a boozy James
Oh
Bond.
yeah.
She did that one called The Wrecking Ball with Tina Louise, Elkie Summer.
Oh my God, Elkie.
Nancy Kwan.
I love
and
Nancy
Sharon
Kwan.
Tate. But Sharon Tate was the She was the comedic girl, and she's really funny. Like she's playing a bumbling. She's very
Wasn't she in
Connie.
Best of Everything too? Wasn't she in that one?
No, I love that movie with Joan.
Wait,
That's
with
Hope,
Joan-
Hope Lang.
Yeah, but there's
And
one.
Diane
but she was in one
Var-
where she was like a secretary. It was like maybe I'm thinking Valley of the Dolls. I'm not even sure. But anyway, here we go.
But Leo and Brad are like, they have never been more hunkier than in those.
Well,
previews
and it looks
of
like
that movie.
they're loosey goosey too, and looks like they're having fun and they're singing and dancing, and it just looks like it's very Tarantino-esque.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was about.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with James St. James, and we are about to reveal the number one thing that made us go wow this week.
Number 1.
Love Connie.
I do love me some Love Connie.
And here you are.
Hi,
oh
baby.
my God. Fresh off, I may say, an epic, iconic appearance at DragCon.
It was so unplanned.
Yes, what was it that you did? I've been hearing whispers of this thing.
Herbie
gossiping.
Hancock's Rocket. It was amazing.
Wait,
the crowd went wild.
I didn't even know what was going on, honestly.
As usual.
It really is. I'm finding the older I get and the longer I linger around that I'm uninformed. I'll get a time to show up somewhere, but it'll literally be hours before where it clues in. No, you need to prepare. This is what you're doing, So, yeah, but there's that weird thing like.
Wait, you performed? Where did you on the main stage?
On the main stage.
You pretended that you hadn't rehearsed, but that amazing bit when you popped your tummy, you were just like drinking water, just
I was
over
exhausted. It was because
We
the
were
thing
all
is I
exhausted.
thought it was
It's
just
like-
a performance, and then I started looking and I started thinking, and as I got there, I heard other performers before me, and I realized it was an entire 30-minute block, and I started really thinking to myself, am I supposed to fill up 30 whole minutes? And then that started making me nervous, so I was like, let me go through the Connie files, and I grabbed out my medley. And I thought, it opens with the theme from Magnum P.I., and I thought if you want to really get somebody's attention, can you sing? Do you have to pay the rights if you hum the theme from Magnum P.I.?
No, I think we're okay.
It's real.
It's got that zippy.
Linda Carter, yeah. It's real shimmy, very divine walking down the street in Baltimore. You can mash it up with a lot of pop culture references. But that was super fun, and I have to say it's as recently that we've seen each other at are we able to talk about the finale and stuff like that? I don't
We
wanna
can talk about the
give away
finale.
any
Yes, we
spoilers.
can.
But I've also become that weird thing of where when I started getting serious into drag, I was thinking more about, I wasn't really getting auditions as an actor, just like a guy, just an actor, and I was getting frustrated because I wanted to be able to tell a story and create shows, but I didn't consider myself a writer, or at least I can't sit down and get like, well, these are my characters and I'm going to write this word. Like when I watch Drag Race and it becomes the Read Library is Open challenge where the queens have to read each other on the spot, I've put myself in that position so many times, and it's terrifying. I mean, I think if I had to sit down and Rue said, hey, we're going to do a show about flight, I would literally lose my mind. But if you just show up and there's a crowd of people and you throw a microphone in my hand.
And say, now we're doing, you're a stewardess,
Yes. I will start. But also, I have been punishing myself because that night I thought, it's exhausting. I don't want to have a heart attack. I don't know if I can dance the whole 10 minutes. So I was like, I'll bring a couple of people up on the floor for a little dance off. And of course, these two girls got up there, and I was like, all right, go. And this one girl, she was terrible. She kind of slunk to the ground. And I immediately was like, what is this, rickets? I thought we cured measles. And before I even caught myself, I've forgotten that RuPaul's Drag Race, DragCon is it's a safe place.
You can't attack people.
And I am, and
you're
literally,
you're Don Rickles in drag.
It's awful, even worse. Like, was he that mean? I don't remember if Don Rickles
He was pretty
that
mean. He was an
mean.
insult comic,
If
yes.
anyone remembers who Don Rickles is. But yeah, I've been punishing so I had to kind of make up my karma. So I'm still looking for that girl. If you're listening, I'm so sorry.
But then didn't you just sort of set up a booth like sort of rogue style?
Well, that was
somewhere?
the other thing is, okay,
Well,
no,
nobody-
it wasn't me setting up anything rogue style.
Nobody like you just sort of like stood somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Well, because the night before, this wouldn't have even been Thursday night. This would have been Friday morning of DragCon at 12:30. I was going through social media, and I saw World of Wonder tagged you in a post, and I'm like, oh, what is that? And then I saw this whole set for Conniewood with some step aerobic things, and I was like, Jesus Christ, what is that? And I was like, what? I have this? And then it was like, oh my God, I have to get, again, I feel like the train left the station 20 years ago, and I'm still that bitch just running like the back of that caboose.
Well, you have a show on Wow Presents Plus, right?
I'm aware.
It's called
yes.
Conniewood.
Yes, it is. Conniewood.
Would you do anything to make it in Hollywood?
I have.
Connie would.
I have. And look where I've wound up.
Cheaper than the price of a latte.
Well, you were a
You-
sensation.
Are you talking about?
Wow Presents
femininity?
Plus.
Wow Presents
Oh, you.
Oh, that's right. We are the cheap section of the conglomerate that is World of Wonder.
No, we're the affordable streaming network.
And you know what's nice about it? No interference. It really was. That was my nicest thing. Is I was like, all right, well, let's just keep shooting. No one's. It doesn't seem like anyone's really that concerned. So just put it in. But that was fun.
Hour after hour.
I don't like to be censored. That makes me paranoid, even if it's for my own good.
Well, you were amazing at DragCon, and you're amazing. I mean, the plaudits from your appearance on Drag Race this season. It's incredible. It is incredible when you do the fitness workout routine. It's calisthenics, right? Because it was.
Oh, I call it Connie Robics.
Connie Robics. Oh my God.
You ready to get Connie fit?
It's really.
There's so many that Connie's a good. It's a good name. You can kind of tag that name with everything. You know, I used to. You know, Constance.
Yeah.
Robert Sherman, who I always knew as Robert Sherman, like Mapplethorpe model.
Right, sure.
Right.
But so I've always known Robert, and when I started doing Connie. More like when we would show up at a WOW event or something, he would always just look at, be nicety, and then look at me at some point and go, "You stole my name!" and just start screaming at me. So yeah, I feel like there's a pretty lengthy history because there was also, you remember Connie Girl?
Oh, yeah.
I don't really remember Connie Girl
She's
because
still
I
around.
wasn't.
She's
Oh,
still
she
around
is.
in New
Yeah.
York. Yeah, sure.
But I wasn't in New York then. But a lot of my friends, they always mention Connie.
And Connie
Girl.
Stevens.
Yes,
Connie
and
Francis.
I love it.
There's lots of Connies out there.
Connie Smith.
Yeah, I think you should explain to the very few people who don't know Connie. What's the Connie?
What's the Connie concept?
The Connie concept is not your average Hollywood glamour girl, right?
How dare you? I think she's very glamorous.
I think so too.
It's that weird thing of where even though, it started out as part of a sketch comedy group, the Nellie Olsons, which, we've all been
Legendary.
friendly with and everything.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about Connie Wood is using some of those old Nellie Olson jokes, because, the Nellies never got like anything prominent on TV or anything where, like I say, people would be aware of who they were. But there is still some of the funniest things that were written 25 years ago that I've never seen done since. So it's like, let's go dig in these old,
old jokes,
So
the archives, the Joan Rivers, Rolodex.
No shame in that. Ru has been saying everybody say love since the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
And it
The
still
1880s.
works.
Yes, and certain things just work, and I think, and the other thing that was funny about that is,
It's like vaudeville. It's like you keep going back to the same. Yes.
And the thing about sketch and drag is you have to play a variety of characters, so you can't really I'm going to do my drag face and be all pretty in makeup and then be a lady. So for me, it was a hairy guy, untucked, that would throw on spandex and would do a beauty pageant routine or whatever, and that's how Connie was born. But I never, I always think of the line, "May the best woman win," and I always think, well, how would that apply to Connie? Because even though Connie, I identify as a woman, I'm not paying attention that I'm really just
But that's what's so gorgeous about it.
Yeah.
It's like drag. It's like it's not gender fuck. It's like it's zero fucks to give drag. It's like, and you said in an interview that you like flaws and imperfections.
Hag drag is what I call it.
Skag drag.
Skag, yes.
Yes.
Monster, yeah.
It is, and but there's also that thing of because I worked in the fitness industry, so I also
You really did?
Oh yes.
Oh.
Back when there was just 3 crunches and 1 Equinox in 1993 in Manhattan. So I wore spandex a lot. That's what I was, So I became
there's
very
also a very
comfortable.
pyramid sort of aesthetic about it.
And Club Kid and that kind of athletic. So and also I think that having Connie doing aerobics. I mean, because I never had her do aerobics. I did aerobics, but it fits because it also reminds me of that old Jim Carrey character when he would play was he like the Swedish bodybuilder? You remember? She was, "Hi, I'm Helga." I don't want to start doing accents because I'll offend the world. But like that, and also just I've always been into high kicks. Even when I remember when I used to
You
live
can
in Dallas.
really high kick. I mean, you are high kicking as high as those queens on Drag Race. I mean,
I think it started with that TV movie with Jane Seymour and Lauren Tweez. of the Love Boat called Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders.
Oh
Do you
my
remember?
God! Yes, of course I remember. I forgot that Lauren Hughes was in it.
Yeah, she's the girl.
Lauren.
She's the innocent girl that's trying out and everything.
Oh,
you know?
what a Hollywood.
And Jane Seymour, if you think about that, because you think this was the bridge between Jane Seymour as Solitaire, Bond girl, and Live and Let Die, and Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
But there was also that great East of Eden. Remember, she played the whore in East of Eden.
For real?
And she was just evil. If you ever get a chance to go
Oh.
back, she really one of the great seminal roles of the
funny.
1970s.
And there's a version of Jack the Ripper with her and Michael Caine that I also want to get.
That sounds good.
You know, if you research that, there are tons of movies.
I think we should
about
just
Jack
have
the
a
Ripper.
Jane Seymour retrospective.
Well, now I'm
and,
getting ideas. You know, I have a slasher in Conniewood. You know, I don't know if people were expecting
She's a killer.
to do drag, a queen killer. Drag, and then, but I definitely wanted to throw in slasher elements because I'm such a huge fan of horror movies and everything. So that's funny thinking of Jack. I could totally see Connie as one of those, you got a cigarette for me? You know, it would just be Connie on the streets of London after
I am
dark.
excited for Conniewood the movie.
Totally.
the Victorian
Which is
curls,
so
the
Nellie
sausage
Olsen.
curls.
See, look, I'm getting chills right now
Right,
thinking about
and
it.
what if Conniewood was also a time traveler? So she just pops up in different periods
well,
of
see, that's
history.
my-
60s.
That's my
she could do
favorite.
the 1860s. She could.
And you know the other movie I want to do? that I-
Conniewood, Queen of Time. You know.
Do you remember the Shirley MacLaine movie, What a Way to Go?
Yes, I
Drag
love
queens
that.
love that movie because
it's so amazing.
It's amazing. And
she there's that the very famous fashion scene where she keeps coming out in
Oh, yes.
outfit after outfit after outfit, and they're all Edith Heads, aren't
which
they?
is
I think?
which is the basis for all of those horrible scenes in those Julia Roberts movies from the 80s and 90s where brown-eyed girl and she's trying on hats because they have a plot hole or some shit. And that used to burn my ass. Like if I saw Kira Sedgwick doing it, or I literally would I'm gonna walk out of the theater right now. But What a Way to Go! Did you know that was written for Marilyn Monroe?
I did, yes, and then
That
Shirley
breaks
MacLaine
my
ended up
heart.
doing Shirley MacLaine in that great pink wig.
Yes.
Oh, it's so drag.
Well, she marries a different guy each time, and she's a farm wife one time, and then she's in Paris.
Let's
one time.
remake it.
Let's
do
I'm
it.
ready.
With Connie.
I love it.
And your budget will be $350. Oh, I'll make
But
it
that's
happen.
a little on the high side, actually. Hey, number one, Conniewood. Love
I'm number
Connie.
one.
Thank you.
Woo.
You are number one. And thank you for tuning in to the Wow Report on Sirius Radio Andy Sirius XM. Listen anytime on the radio, Sirius, blah, 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 app, whatever. And on...
What? 3 years and you
y'all
have
just
no
making this
idea?
up?
All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Wow Report on Radio Andy Sirius XM. Listen anytime on the Sirius Radio app or watch anytime on the Wow Report.
You need a paper plate full of barbecue to
I know.
slosh around.
Same time, same place next week. Until
we
then,
go.
go out and do something that makes the world go
Wow.
wow.